Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to talk today. I've titled my introductory presentation A Brand New World, which I think is a little bit of a misnomer, given that brands and video games have been living side by side and benefiting from each other's uh, audiences for a long while now. Um, but it certainly seems like we've really hit our stride in the last couple of years with the diversification of the video games audience and just the sheer growth that we're experiencing. Indeed, last year we topped $159 billion worth of global revenue, which is more than film, music, and TV combined. And when you consider how much branding goes on in those industries, it's really quite noticeable how far we've yet to go to really capitalize on what brands can get from the video game space. So yeah, as I mentioned, branding has permeated, almost every other cultural and economic activity on the planet. Sport was probably one of the first forebearers of brand integration and activations and experiential opportunities. Apologies for any non-Gooning fans out there. It was the shot that I chose to go with. But certainly, we could learn a thing or two about sport, and they've forgotten more about branding than probably we'll ever know. But as you'll see, we're starting to rival the kind of audiences that sport can offer. Music too has been a well-trodden path for brands, mainly through the celebrity endorsements and celebrity culture that brands can tap into and benefit from. And also theatrical and home entertainments. When we take things onto the big screen, it's no surprise that we can see a huge number of eyeballs being opened up to brands in many different ways. Avengers Endgame here, the example, had $75.8 million in product placement value. That's 60 different brands in total, as tracked by Concave brand tracking. And tellingly, Concave track music videos, film, and TV, but they don't track brands in games. It might also interest you to know that across all the Marvel movies, $600 million worth of product placement has been integrated, and that's 1,700 brands across 89 of the top 100 films of 2019. Only 11 of those films in 2019 did not feature a single brand. And when it comes to TV as well, TV is it doesn't hold back when it comes to brand integration, and some of the biggest shows can command some of the largest number of brand integrations that you can see here. So when it comes to gaming, we're starting. There's plenty of examples that I'm sure you'll hear about today, and indeed I'll reference in a little bit, where we're making good inroads into really showing what we can do for brand owners for the benefit of those brands. And it's never been a more crucial time for brand owners to really wake up to this sort of sleeping giant of the games industry and the gaming audience. Barely a day goes by these days without gaming, the power of gaming being harnessed by brand owners. And that's largely because many different studies or many commentators now are thinking that gaming is overtaking traditional media and traditional entertainment, at least for those younger generations. Gen Z gamers are poised to shake up the media and entertainment industries for good. For all its growth, gaming's still only just being considered by brands as a viable way of reaching mass audiences as sport, TV, film, or music. And this is really why Gen Z and why brand owners are getting so, I guess, panicked, about the dearth of some of those more traditional ways of getting their brand out there, where Generation Z, millennials, and to a lesser extent, Generation X are playing video games much more than they're listening to music, browsing the internet, even engaging on social platforms. So certainly among the younger demographic cohorts, the growth of video games as an entertainment activity at the expense of music and home entertainment is becoming really quite pronounced. And it's leading to quotes such as this from Sean Monahan of The Guardian, and there are many others online if you choose to look for them. If music was the most important form of youth culture in the 20th century, video games seem slated to be the most important in the 21st. That's quite a bold statement, but those of us within the industry can see that it could entirely come true in years to come. But I don't want to really focus too much on Gen Z, the millennials, or this being a young person's game. I always like to try and reset my brain every so often to figure out what are the potential audiences that gaming can reach. As a developer, we're always trying to find new audiences for our games. And it's telling to note that the first games console, the Pong console, came out in the mid 70s, which means that most parents today grew up with a games console in their home of some form or another. And those early gamers are now nudging 50 years old with families of their own, indeed, probably grandchildren of their own. And then in 1983, probably the first real mass market gaming boom for the gaming industry, the NES was released. That's almost 40 years ago. So those NES kids that you see in that advert are now in or approaching their 40s and are probably parents themselves, extolling the virtues of gaming and how it used to be. And pushing that just one step further, we've seen studies recently. Yuki have published some studies on their Wikipedia that Sam referenced, that 55 to 64%, the 55 to 64-year-old demographic has grown 32% since 2018. And sure, some of that is down to the COVID spike with the elder generation being stuck at home, looking for things to be distracted by. But it's also the rise of mobile gamers and the access to iPhone and iPad games. My own parents have been addicted to the Room games from Fireproof Games, are made here in the UK by their Guildford studio. And this also, that generational shift that I talked about people who have grown up with games, and how gaming is now no longer a solitary experience for a teenage boy to spend in his bedroom. It is as much a family game, a family time, a hobby and activity for grandparents, parents, and children and grandchildren to play amongst themselves. And that gender balance that has been happening in games for what seems like forever now, but still it hasn't yet permeated the consciousness of the wider world, where gaming is still very much a male activity. But all statistics show that it's very much a 50-50 split when it comes to gender. So it shows that the demographics are now at a point within gaming where brands of any description, whatever audience you're trying to reach, can have some impact of some description. But now's the time to sort of blow the trumpet of just how big the video games is. In the UK last year, we hit the £7 billion mark, which is the first year ever we've done it, a record year. And that's, as I mentioned earlier, a fraction of the global total, which was $159 billion. So more than music, TV, and the movie industry combined. And a few other little tidbits of fact that kind of blow your mind, really. The seventh largest company in the world is a company called Tencent, and 60% of Tencent's revenue comes from gaming, and in particular esports, which you'll hear a lot about today. And Microsoft, the second largest company in the world, earns 33% of its revenue from gaming. So the UK is a big opportunity for any brand owners looking to access the UK audience. But brands tend to be global, and so the global opportunity is absolutely there too. This is just to show you how that kind of 7 billion is made up. Predominantly, it comes from game software, and that's what the opportunity is for brands, is to integrate within that software and hit that audience where they're at that most engaged. Most of the growth in recent years has come from the rise of digital and the ability to access that audience down the wire, as it were, and also mobile games. Every one of us is carrying around a gaming console in our pocket every day of our lives, and particularly among those broader audiences that I've just spoken about, mobile games has been absolutely a critical driver in not only diversifying but just growing exponentially the gaming audience in recent years. When it comes to games hardware, I threw this up really to show that last year was a bumpy year for hardware as much as it was for software. But this really shows that people are making long-term investments in gaming as a hobby. People don't go out and spend £500 on a gaming console to leave it dormant in a cupboard. That's a long-term investment and shows an intent to continue with this hobby for years to come, or at least the potential to. And then one of the unheralded kind of heroes, I suppose, of the gaming world and the gaming revenues is relatively small at the moment, but is somewhat of a sleeping giant. The ecosystem around games, the toys, the merchandising, the books, the magazines, the events in particular, and most of all, the streaming and game video content, as I'll go on to show in a minute, is really quite significant, but it pales into insignificance when compared to those other industries that I spoke about. So there's real opportunity, as big as we've become, for growing even more as we harness the potential to exploit some of these ancillary areas. But as any good sort of brand owner will tell you, it's about eyeballs and it's about engagement with those eyeballs. Unfortunately, in the video game space, we have real active participation, even when people aren't playing the games. As far back as 2018, Superdata were reporting that there's now a bigger audience for gaming video than the combined audiences of HBO, Netflix, ESPN, and Hulu. And that's really quite remarkable when you think about it. And one of the main drivers of this is kind of what I call gaming secret weapon. Very few people outside of the gaming world have heard of Twitch. And that's really remarkable when you see some of the numbers that they are commanding. If we look at hours streamed and average concurrent viewers on YouTube, they are certainly heralding and boasting some really impressive numbers, with nudging 16 million hours streamed in per quarter in recent quarters, and hundreds of thousands, nudging up to 1 million concurrent viewers in any given quarter on average. But when you look at what Twitch is doing, it really dwarfs YouTube at the moment. And this is primarily gaming content. And gaming is at the forefront of the new broadcast media across both YouTube and Twitch. And YouTube, of course, has been a part of the marketeer's playbook for years now, but it really does pale into insignificance at the moment when compared to the indigenous gamer-focused streaming platform, Twitch. So Twitch really is the equivalent of 9 million TV channels, from the very, very large to the very, very niche, but all with really bespoke branding opportunities. Some Twitchers are earning millions of dollars every year. Most of them, or not most of them, but significant number of them are commanding multi-million followers. And really, when it comes to branding and the gaming industry sort of taking over from those more linear and traditional media, this quote really sung out to me and made me think this is why it's such an important opportunity for brand owners. The unique way in which gaming's biggest figures choose to interact with their audiences. While movie stars and music A-listers generally shy away from the public, gamers instead reach out to them and interact with everyday people. Unlike celebrity endorsements like we saw in the Beyonce example, gaming streamers provide endorsement and evangelism from accessible, trusted, and authentic personalities. And that's the real power. That's what every brand is after in this day and age. And your average streamer's page, stream and chat, even those with modest concurrent views or followers, is full of progressive brands looking to benefit from endorsement and engagement, which these modern day celebrities can command. This is just one I picked at random, and there's half a dozen big name brands there that are sponsoring this particular streamer, and there are many hundreds of these examples that I could have picked. This is the first one that came to mind. So it's hardly surprising then that for a fair few years now, brands have been looking to tap into this audience. Retail promotions such as this one and this one from Pringles are getting more and more commonplace. I thought this Pringles one was really, really nice. It wasn't that long ago where brands would be too stuffy to even consider changing their iconic logo for an activation such as this. But putting a gaming headset on Mr. Pringle there was a really nice touch. And then as the audience grows and diversifies in all directions, the list of brands who count the gaming audience among their core target lengthens, and the way they're looking to engage become ever more creative as they exploit the major USP of video games, and that's the interactivity and the engagement of those eyeballs. This is the Louis Vuitton example where they not only created Louis Vuitton outfits within the game League of Legends, but they also took that offline and into the physical world by creating those very same outfits in physical manifestations. And game events, such as PAX and EGX in this country have always been well attended and a really good way to reach thousands of gamers. With the rise of esports and the ever swelling broadcast audiences, brands can reach not only hundreds of thousands of attendees in the physical environment through experiential marketing and the like, but hundreds of millions of viewers. The global esports audience is predicted to be 474 million in 2021, up from 398 million in 2019. And by 2024, this is expected to grow to 577 million viewers, according to Newzoo. And then the tournament prize funds are just getting absolutely ridiculous. The international a Dota 2 tournament had a prize pool of $34.3 million. And the vast majority of that pool is crowdsourced, which is absolutely remarkable. So no wonder the likes of Red Bull have been quick to get in off the mark and really become a massive part of their strategy moving forward. Moreover, in the world of games as a service, where events can be streamed live from within the game, more than 12 million people logged into Fortnite to watch Travis Scott's live concert from within the game last September. Games as a service has really unlocked these sort of in-the-moment events that we can activate within games, not quite at whim. A lot of these take a lot of months of hard work and planning, but we can hit particular moments in time and particular moments in the zeitgeist in a way that no other media really can. And then, people are having all sorts of fun with consumer products. This is just one example of many that I could have picked out where Puma partnered with Nintendo and their iconic NES brand that I showed you the advert for just a little earlier, to really just play around with the iconography of it all and the imagery of it all, and really kind of tap into that kind of gamer mindset as part of their branding outreach. So I'm going to leave it at that. And in summary, for a while, the gaming world has been a rich seam to mine for brands looking to establish a foothold with a certain audience. But that audience is growing and diversifying, as is the way brands are engaging with them. The interactive live service nature of our products, coupled with the power of the endemic broadcast media, offers a unique opportunity for brands to make deep and lasting connections. And so it's no wonder that headlines such as these are becoming more and more commonplace in the marketing world, as gaming really does start to upset the ecosystem, the brand ecosystem, um, uh, in major ways and potentially forever. So with that, I'll leave it and open up to any questions. Thanks very much.